It's not too hyperbolic to say that events in and around WWE in the days leading up to the 2024 Royal Rumble have changed WWE forever. Now, admittedly, we went into the week in question with just one question. Is Seth Rollins going to make it to WrestleMania? The week before, Rollins had reportedly suffered an injury during a world title defense against Jinder Mahal. And whilst WWE put out no statements about Rollins' health, they did pull the champ from live events on Saturday in Alabama and Sunday in Mississippi. They eventually revealed that Raw would open with an announcement by Mr. Freaking Rollins, with many of us already beginning the roadmap on the scenic route to WrestleMania. Turns out we didn't need to. While Seth Rollins did suffer a grade 2 MCL tear and a partially torn meniscus, he chose to rehab over surgery and promised to walk into Mania as the main man. Later in the week, Rollins would reveal in an interview that he planned to be back in action by March, not wanting his first in-ring fight since the injury to be on the grandest stage of them all. It was also on Monday where CM Punk and Cody Rhodes exchanged barbs in a segment that was universally agreed upon as an absolute banger. It quickly ratcheted up over 1 million views on YouTube and started to change the conversation around WrestleMania 40. But what about this Cody finishing his story malarkey? I mean, on Monday, we also got the trailer for 2K24, which around exciting revelations of the return of the special guest referee mode and the ability to throw weapons at your opponents. The general theme was finishing the story, a direct plug for the new WrestleMania-inspired showcase mode, and an indirect plug for Cody's Roman Reigns chasing mantra from last year. Ever since The Rock turned up on January the 1st and hinted about sitting at the head of the table, it seemed like Cody was being shunted out of the main event picture in favor of a much-lauded Rock-Roman showdown. Speaking to ESPN on the Monday, Cody Rhodes spoke about the possibility of The Rock getting involved at Mania, saying, "I don't consider him in my way. Maybe he is, and I'm being naive to it. Maybe he wants to get in. I don't know, but I don't consider him in my way." Another curiosity at the start of the week in question featured Hulk Hogan, brother. On Raw, we had a video package featuring the Hulkster reflecting on 40 years of WrestleMania. He turned his attention to the stars of today, naming Bayley and Becky Lynch as top picks for the Women's Rumble and Cody Rhodes and CM Punk as top picks for the Men's Rumble. Whoa! Steady on with those hot takes, Hogan. You might burn your toenail. He then teased turning up in the Rumble himself. Don't forget the wild card factor. You never know who's going to show up. You never know. I might have one left in me. Hogan saying something like this isn't out of the realms of possibility on, say, a random podcast or his own Twitter signing off with HH. But saying it on WWE TV in a WWE-produced bit adds a worrying amount of weight to those words. Now, on Tuesday, with people waking up to the Cody interview, the one about how The Rock wouldn't get in his way, The Rock revealed whose way he would be in with WWE. And it was not what we expected. In a press release that caught us like an RKO, TKO revealed that they had Dwayne Johnson on its board of directors, effective immediately. Johnson, one of the most decorated WWE superstars in company history and the most followed American man globally on social media platforms, brings decades of experience in live entertainment and sports to the board. Through his extensive business portfolio, which includes 7 Bucks Productions, Terramana Tequila, Zoa Energy, Project Rock, and the recently combined Spring Football League, the UFL, Johnson has significant experience identifying and cultivating revenue-generating media rights, live events, sponsorship licensing, and social media opportunities. The appointment of Johnson reflects TKO's commitment to delivering long-term value and strong performance for shareholders through strategic growth initiatives across both UFC and WWE. If you smell la 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 la. Unlike an In-N-Out burger, The Rock legit hasn't done this before. The Wrestling Observer revealed that Dwayne Boy had been asked to join other boards in the past and declined. The family connection to wrestling and the love for the Graps made this one important. It also marks Dwayne's biggest pro wrestling business endeavor since he joined the corporation at Survivor Series 1998. Dwayne The Rock Johnson was sentimental in his first statement. "My grandfather, High Chief Peter Maivia, and my dad, Rocky Soul, Tool Man Johnson would never thought this day would have come, which is why I'm very humbled to have a seat at the table, that table that has decades of history and family legacy for me, a table that my family helped to build. Being on the TKO board of directors and taking full ownership of my name, The Rock, is not only unprecedented, but it's incredibly inspiring as my crazy life is coming full circle. Now that final part is important. This deal also gives Dwayne Johnson full rights to be The Rock, something he could have really done with when he was trying to crack Hollywood in the noughties. Would have saved him trying to reinvent himself and turning up on a random episode of Raw, introducing himself as DJ. Something that, as a long-time fan of the Great One, made me a bit sick in my mouth. On the same day, The Rock was put on the board, so was American entrepreneur Brad Keywell. It's tough starting a new job in the same department as The Rock. You're bound to get overlooked. So let's shine a little light on Brad. He started a greeting card company at the age of 7. He co-founded several logistics and management technology firms and co-founded Groupon. So every time you get a pop-up that tells you that air fryer is cheaper elsewhere, you can thank Brad. He's also the exec chairman of Uptake Technologies, an industrial provider of AI software, for which we won't thank Brad for. We probably had about an hour to digest the news that very soon most of The Rock's promos would be written up as minutes in a TKO board meeting when the WWE landscape changed once again in a major way. After months of discussions, meetings, and secret deliberations, WWE Raw was moving to Netflix. Ta-dum! A TKO press release, another one, read, beginning in January 2025, Netflix will be the exclusive new home of Raw in the US, Canada, UK, and Latin America, among other territories, with additional countries and regions being added over time. As part of the agreement, Netflix will also become the home for all WWE shows and specials outside the US as available, inclusive of Raw and WWE's other weekly shows, SmackDown and NXT. This marks a major programming shift as Raw leaves linear television for the first time since its inception 31 years ago. TKO president and COO Mark Shapiro said, "This deal is transformative. It marries the can't-miss WWE product with Netflix's extraordinary global reach and locks in significant and predictable economics for many years." It'll create weekly live appointment viewing for Netflix as well. Now, before setting up an account with Netflix and definitely not sharing the password with their mates, no, WWE held talks with the likes of WBD, Amazon, and Disney, but they were hot for Netflix as it matched their global localization vision. It's a deal worth $5 billion over 10 years, the most expensive purchase in the streaming platform's history. The deal gives Netflix a chance to opt out after 5 years if it's not going the way they want it to, or extend it for another 10. It could potentially paywall WWE programming for 2 decades, almost the full lifetime of Raw itself. It'll remain on Mondays for now, according to Nick Khan, but obviously that is in play. This isn't the first time that Netflix have grappled with wrestling. They hosted the first 2 series of the wonderful, highly addictive Cooper Temple bollocks known as Lucha Underground. They also gave us Glow, the gorgeous ladies of wrestling, before they hit us with the final series screw job and binned it off prematurely. Cheers, lads. Britannica's crying. There's been a wide pantheon of panto in pants programming as well, such as a horrid WWE film called The Main Event and a choose-your-own-adventure game, Escape the Undertaker. Most recently, there was a deep dive into the trials and tribulations of the world's most famous development territory, OVW, in wrestlers. Netflix proved to be a huge success for Ohio Valley Wrestling, their marketing manager and their lead commentator, Brian Kennison, revealing to us in a Cultaholic interview that since that documentary, the Davis Arena has sold out every Thursday, and social impressions are higher than they have ever been. Brian also revealed that Netflix execs had a sketchy opinion on pro wrestling that Al Snow's super kick all sorts helped to change. So it's fair to say that whilst WWE had the power to land a Netflix deal of their own accord, it certainly didn't hurt to have OVW guys lighting up the runway. The deal is great for Netflix too. Their journey into live streaming has been somewhat stunted in comparison to Amazon, who are now becoming a major player in sports. So to have an IP that produces its own shows every week that merely play host for, it's a dead easy moneymaker for them, really, isn't it? Not only is this a huge deal for them, but it could be a huge concern for cable. When I spoke to Brandon Thurston of WrestleNomics, he said the number of homes with access to Netflix is catching up on the number of homes with access to cable. And as things stand, Netflix is on a gradual rise, whilst cable is on a steep decline. It's a matter of time until streaming takes the lead. I also chatted with the brilliant BJ Colangelo, editor at Slash Film, who says that if this proves to be a success, other cable shows, live or otherwise, could seek out a streaming holy grail of their own, leaving classic TV to run, I don't know, shopping network ads for luxury steak knives until everybody dies. It was on the same day that news came down from a news source in Japan. We had a story about Kazuchika Okada, one outlet reporting that he was definitely WWE bound and his first stop would be a season in NXT. Now, these claims would be refuted by other major reporters as the week rolled on, but it did cause serious ructions online, where serious wrestling fans were bursting blood vessels behind their eyes at the thought of the Rainmaker going through what is tantamount to WWE developmental. The rest of us just started photoshopping Okada in a Chase U sweater and had a lovely time. Meanwhile, WWE was preparing to start boxing up and moving to Netflix, with international viewers left asking, what becomes of the WWE Network? American audiences have seen the network move to Peacock, and documentaries and shows also sold off to the highest bidder over the years. But here in the UK, there's still a very active core of users. Well, we'd find out the very fates of the network on Wednesday. Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer breaking the news that at the end of 2024, the world's biggest archive of armbars would be switched off for good. A lot of the network will move to Netflix, but there's certainly no guarantee that it will all go there. I honestly can't imagine finishing an episode of Gilmore Girls or The Crown and Netflix asking me if I want to watch WWE Saturday Morning Slam. Whether that is a reality or not, I guess we're going to have to wait and see on. The WWE Network's 10th year, either way, will be its last, at least as we know it. If you pull on the Ethernet cable of this story, it actually goes further back than 10 years. We had Radio WWF in the mid-90s, which gave early internet users and armed forces overseas the chance to hear alternative pay-per-view commentary and behind-the-scenes wrestling news through a crackly, forever buffering Winamp stream. However, the WWF wanted to do something groundbreaking with their thousands of hours of fighting footage in the 90s, and they wanted more than just a slot on a TV channel. They wanted the whole channel. And this led to some very ambitious conversations in 1999 between the Federation and the USA Network. They floated the idea of purchasing the Sci-Fi Channel, which was balked at by then network president Barry Baker. The idea was revisited in 2005 as the internet got a bit better or a bit worse, depending on where you sit. The launch of WWE 24/7 became the blueprint for the WWE Network, which launched in 2014 ahead of WrestleMania. Nothing upset the pay-per-view providers more than WWE loudly and proudly announcing that for $9.99 you could get WrestleMania 30 and practically every wrestling match ever on their streaming platform. The network did indeed come through on its press release promise to change the industry as pay-per-view buy rates dwindled in the face of a cheaper, bulkier, sometimes glitchier online streaming service. NBC Universal acquiring rights to distribute the network saw Americans lose that service in 2021. The rest of the world still been dining out on it. I spoke to Kate Hensler from Fightful, who have a VPN sponsorship deal, and she says the majority of people that get VPNs through them do so to use the WWE Network in the UK. Charming. Why don't you take our tea bags, fish suppers and crap weather while you're at it? Meanwhile, in the actual world of wrestling, WWE released their SmackDown commentator Kevin Patrick. Kev had been pushed heavily and quickly as the future voice of WWE TV, with stints on Raw and SmackDown as the lead man. Reports within WWE were that it just wasn't quite connecting and that Kev consequently was going. I encourage you to listen to Kevin Egan do his thing on commentary for Atlanta United. There's something about him doing footy that just fits so much better, and you can truly hear how great he actually can be. Best wishes, Kev. In the middle of the week, Cody Rhodes' WrestleMania Odyssey took another twist thanks to a report by Justin Barrasso of Sports Illustrated. Multiple sources close to WWE, said Justin, and head of creative Paul Triple H Levesque have indicated that Rhodes will not headline this year's event, nor will he finish his story at WrestleMania, but there is still a new chapter to write with a marquee matchup in CM Punk. After a month of speculation that CM Punk would challenge the World Heavyweight Champion Seth Rollins at WrestleMania, a new plan is in place to see Gunther as the favourite to win the Royal Rumble and then dethrone Rollins on the first night of WrestleMania. The report also talks about the likeliness of The Rock competing at Mania, which gives us, according to Sports Illustrated, 3 Mania matches: Cody Rhodes versus CM Punk, Seth Rollins versus Gunther, and Roman Reigns versus The Rock. Now, WrestleVotes offered an update saying regarding the Sports Illustrated WrestleMania 40 report, after speaking to a few of my own contacts, I believe the following: those 3 matches could absolutely happen in Philadelphia. However, the set-in-stone nature of the article is a little naive, I've been told. Sources are also upset that WWE, particularly Triple H, was not happy that this sort of thing got out, as if he'd be so open with this type of specific information. Fightful looked into these matches with their sources, and they say those close to several sources mentioned in the article said that the adjustment would be, quote, news to them. Seth Rollins versus CM Punk was very much the plan, and Rollins was hopeful to be good to go for WrestleMania despite his MCL and meniscus tears. They did so whilst praising Justin Barrasso for being a jam-up guy, not unlike El Dandy. He followed up on Thursday with a report that says what was detailed to me by previously reliable sources was a deliberate attempt at misinformation, or misinformation that is being spread through WWE itself. I apologize for the errors in yesterday's report. When posting these reports, the entirety of the information needs to be accurate. In just a few days, Cody's story has gone from finishing to not finishing and back to finishing. The book spine is getting pretty worn on the road to the Rumble of this story. All of this news was breaking in the week leading up to the Royal Rumble, where normally the main wrestling headlines are filled with surprises and speculation about who's going to turn up in Tampa. However, by Thursday, we weren't talking about the Rumble. We weren't even talking about Cody. We weren't even talking about WrestleMania. We weren't even talking about WWE stories. On Thursday, a lawsuit was filed in the US District Court of Connecticut with new Vince McMahon allegations. The news was broke by the Wall Street Journal, who revealed that allegations made by former WWE employee Janelle Grant accused former WWE owner and current TKO executive chairman of the board Vince McMahon of assault, trafficking, and emotional and physical abuse. McMahon had Ms. Grant sign an NDA to prevent her from speaking about what went on between them, as well as a settlement for $3 million. When only $1 million of that settlement was paid, Grant took the matter to court, seeking to both void the agreement and get unspecified financial damages. The lawsuit alleges that Vince McMahon had a highly inappropriate relationship with Ms. Grant, one she claims she was coerced into in return for a job within WWE. The court documents, which contain detailed events that allegedly took place and text messages alleged to have been sent by Vince McMahon, they are available online and they're very unpleasant reading. Throughout her time in WWE, Ms. Grant claims to have had a physical relationship with McMahon, which, as time went on, became, to quote the document, more sadistic, with Ms. Grant claiming to have been subject to acts of extreme cruelty and degradation between 2019 and 2022. McMahon was sharing explicit photographs and videos of Grant with other men within and outside of WWE, such as producers, executives, and, quote, a world-famous athlete and former UFC heavyweight champion with whom WWE was actively trying to sign a new contract. This suit claims Ms. Grant was also offered to head of talent relations John Laurinaitis, as well as the aforementioned former UFC heavyweight champion. The 67-page document, as I've said, makes for incredibly tough reading. Janelle Grant's lawyer, Ann Callis, said today's complaint seeks to hold accountable 2 WWE executives who assaulted and trafficked plaintiff Janelle Grant, as well as the organization that facilitated or turned a blind eye to the abuse and swept it under the rug. She's an incredibly private and courageous person who had suffered deeply at the hands of Mr. McMahon and Mr. Laurinaitis. Ms. Grant hopes that her lawsuit will prevent other women from being victimized. The organization is well aware of Mr. McMahon's history of depraved behavior, and it's time they take responsibility for the misconduct of its leadership. TKO put out a statement saying that Mr. McMahon does not control TKO, nor does he oversee the day-to-day operations of WWE. Whilst this matter predates our TKO executive team's tenure at the company, we take Ms. Grant's horrific allegations very seriously and are addressing the matter internally. A spokesperson for Vince McMahon has also given a statement saying this lawsuit is replete with lies, obscene made-up instances that never occurred, and a vindictive distortion of the truth. He will vigorously defend himself. People have been asking online if TKO could remove Vince McMahon as executive chairman of the board over these allegations. And obviously TKO put out their statement and they are addressing the matter. But at this point, Brandon Thurston of WrestleNomics went through TKO's certificate of incorporation. And within it, there was the following clause. Vincent K. McMahon shall serve as the executive chair of the board until the earliest of his death, his resignation, or incapacitation. Brandon Thurston adds that the board may need to somehow convince him to resign if they want him gone. Going into the weekend, it felt like Vince would remain where he was, with TKO seemingly in no rush to deal with the latest allegations levied at the chairman of the board. And that process was expedited by Slim Jim, of all people. WWE have a long-standing financial love affair with America's favourite meat bogey manufacturers, dating back to the mid-90s when Macho Man Randy Savage would encourage Raw viewers to snap into a Slim Jim, a lucrative endorsement that he took with him to WCW as well. Slim Jim had been back on the books with WWE for a while and had recently seen promotions involving LA Knight driving Fast Meat, the custom Nissan Z Slim Jim mobile. It's an American institution that is so iconic that Fast Meat got stolen just before Christmas. It was found in a car park in Chicago with the custom wraparound partially removed. I'd love to have been one of the morons that stole it, furiously stabbing at the Slim Jim logo with an ice scraper. You could have stole something more conspicuous, Darren. It goes to show you, you never carjack when you're hungry. Slim Jim had nourished WWE with millions of pounds worth of sponsorship over the years and were a main sponsor of the Royal Rumble, but they weren't willing to be connected to WWE while the executive chairman of the board sat with these allegations around him. So they announced they were pausing their partnership with WWE. The statement went, Slim Jim values the integrity and respect in all of our partnerships. Given the recent disturbing allegations against Vince McMahon, at this time, we've decided to pause our promotional activities with WWE. This decision reflects our commitment to our brand values, our responsibility to our community also. We will continue to monitor the situation and base our future engagements on our values and what's best for our brand. The Slim Jim sponsorship pull was the final snap, it would seem. As just a few hours later, Vince McMahon resigned from TKO and WWE. It was communicated to all talent and staff in an email from Nick Khan and later confirmed by Vince McMahon himself, saying, I stand by my prior statement that Ms. Grant's lawsuit is replete with lies, obscene made-up instances that never occurred, and is a vindictive distortion of the truth. I intend to vigorously defend myself against these baseless accusations and look forward to clearing my name. However, out of respect for the WWE universe, the extraordinary TKO business and its board members and shareholders and partners and constituents and all of the employees and superstars who helped make WWE into the global leader that it is today, I have decided to resign from my executive chairmanship and the TKO board of directors effective immediately. The Slim Jim situation was indeed the last straw. TKO were reportedly keen to stop the domino effect of sponsors pulling from WWE as quickly as possible. Despite this, the resignation happened far quicker than anyone expected. PW Insider reported that the initial response to Vince McMahon's resignation within the company was a mix of relief and happiness. They went on to say that there are some in WWE who feel that McMahon got what was coming to him based on the allegations, and there are some in WWE who are glad that Vince is now officially distanced from the company, as he was, as one source revealed to them, a black cloud hanging over everything, even though he wasn't involved in anything. PW Insider also revealed what Endeavor may endeavor to do next, and that is to sweep anyone who was close to Vince McMahon out of the company in order to have a fresh start moving forward. It notes that some employees returned to the company after Vince forced his way back in and onto the board. And the belief with those spoken with by PW Insider is that their connection to McMahon could be a major negative in their WWE status. Since stepping down from the board, Vince McMahon's name and likeness have all but been scrubbed from WWE.com. If you search his name on the website, the top hits are Stephanie and Shane McMahon and Vincent J. McMahon. Obviously, he can't be removed from the network, but his WWE bio is also nowhere to be found, not even in the alumni section. In the wake of the lawsuit from Miss Grant, it was reported that a Brock Lesnar return for the Royal Rumble was scrapped at the 11th hour amid the allegations, with no comeback plans in place and some WrestleMania rewriting now occurring. We also saw a joint statement from Nikki and Brie Bella, whose mother, Kathy, married John Laurinaitis in 2016. They said, "We are shocked and disheartened with the recent allegations against members of the WWE. It has been a lot to process since we found out this past week, just as you all did. This is something we don't stand for or condone from anyone, no matter who they are. We want all women to feel safe and supported in the workplace and in their everyday lives." Now, the Royal Rumble finally comes around on Saturday. Slim Jim back on the books, and a commercial runs during the show. The show's LA Knight and Bianca Belair crashing into a drab-looking DMV and spicing it up with a bevy of slender Jameses to snap into. Yeah, I personally enjoyed the commercial that showed Slim Jim smashing into an unpleasant office that was reluctant to change and causing unavoidable destruction. The Rumbles themselves went down well. Jordynne Grace muscled in with the TNA Knockouts World title around her waist. Naomi returned to WWE. Jade Cargill looked like walking money. And Cody Rhodes did indeed get put on the road to finishing the story. After all that, finally throwing out CM Punk, who had suffered a torn triceps during that match and brought his story to an abrupt halt. For many, the true Royal Rumble main event was the press conference that followed, with the assorted press figures, reporters, aggregators and influencers ask the questions that needed to be asked. Or would they resort to asking Triple H if he'd ever booked Taylor Swift in a ladder match? Thankfully, nobody did the latter, and besides, Taylor would crush it in a ladder match, we all know that. When Cody was asked about the allegations, he met the question head on, saying that the WWE roster were finding out at the same time as they were. He agreed there was a dark cloud that TKO had taken very seriously, acted immediately upon, and looked towards the future. Triple H shot through and shot down several questions about the lawsuit. Amongst it, he did say WWE were doing everything in their power to make people feel safeguarded. He seemed weirdly caught off being asked about it and quite annoyed that people wanted to talk about it. He said he hadn't read the court documents and was keen to focus on the positives of the week instead, like The Rock joining the board, the Netflix deal, and the Royal Rumble live attendance that beat the New Kids on the Block in the 90s. Trips also threw shade at Tony Khan for using cliched terms about certain doors people walk through. He'd prepared a forbidden door joke, but hadn't prepared an answer for the Vince McMahon allegations. There's obviously not a lot you can say. It's an ongoing court case, and these are allegations. A simple, "I cannot comment on this ongoing lawsuit," would have been expected and probably would have sufficed. And there is legal precedence in place here after all. The sensible people in the discourse don't expect Triple H to come out and cut a promo and pedigree a Vince McMahon effigy through the announce table. The sensible people, however, did want it to be addressed in a manner slightly more befitting of the gravity of the situation. It's a strange note to end this video on, but it's an important one. Without question, it was a week of positive landmark moments, but the allegations against Vince McMahon were rightly so the focal point at the end. McMahon gone from the company and Ari Emanuel pushing for a new beginning that we may see sooner rather than later. From here, WWE were heading into a time like never before, one that has The Rock guiding the future from the boardroom, while Netflix will be asking us, are we still watching Raw? And from here on in, we see, with the exception of a son-in-law, WWE without McMahon involvement. In years to come, we will truly look back at that last full week in January of 2024 as the week that WWE changed forever. Stay safe. Love you. Bye.